He was back working carrying around on the mountain back where I used to live. One of my old neighbors came down here, wrote license plates, and I was like, how many people belongs to? He said, well, you better find them before I do. Because if you catch him back there again, I'm going to beat him bad. And he would have. So it was, he was going back there to Jordan, I was taking a girlfriend back there.
Okay. Call this meeting to the Town Council order, March 10, 2022. Join me in pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. Everyone got their packet by email or mail, whichever way you all get it. We have our minutes. I'm sure everyone's had a chance to review them. Any questions, any amendments that need to be made on the minutes? If not, any motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Clarence. Do I have a second?
A second.
Thank you, Sharon. We'll go around the room. Ned?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you all. Okay, do you have a copy of the treasurer's report? Any questions from Melinda on the treasurer's report? Okay. And you also have a copy of bills for payment. Any questions for AC, Melinda, or the chief on the bills that are being paid or possibly being paid? Okay. Motion.
Make a motion to pay the bills.
Thank you, ma'am. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Natalie. We'll go around the room. Ned?
Yes.
Natalie?
Yes.
Sharon?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, feel quick as me. Okay, we're down to police report, chief.
So you know how normally my police report is, I don't have anything and it takes 15 seconds? This one's gonna be more like 15 minutes.
You making up for it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've been saving up my time for tonight. So, as I spoke to the council earlier, there's a handful of commendations that I'll be awarding today for 3 of the officers, sergeant 2 of the officers. And I'm not a big commendation guy. It's not a thing that I don't hand out praise, I don't hand out commendations easily. We didn't even have a policy for this several years ago, but a couple of critical incidents brought it to kind of the forefront that people needed to be acknowledged when something is so remarkable that it impacts their lives, it impacts the community, and that kind of thing. So because of that, we adopted a award and commendation policy, and over the last year or so, we've had 2 performance awards that are coming up, and then 1 from a critical incident. So for simplicity's sake, I'll read the award letters. The award letters will all be filed in their personnel jacket permanently. So if any of these officers are seeking promotion or they seek to go to another agency for a chief's job or something like that, and the commendation will be there as part of their permanent record of what they've accomplished during their time here. And with these guys, they'll probably get more of them down the road, but at least for today, we'll have 3, 1 for each of them. First one, award letters for Sergeant Hook. So, Officer Hook was promoted to sergeant on July 8th of 2020. Even though the department was down 1 position, at the time Sergeant Hook worked a modified split shift, which helped maximize coverage and allowed him to work with each of the other officers. He moved around a lot to try to help. Instead of working a regular rotation, he moved around and really tried to help do what he could to work with everybody. Since the department returned to full staff in 2021, he's continued to work a mid-shift schedule, meaning he works primarily evenings. A lot of agencies, people may get promotion, they think that means straight daylight. Sergeant Hook hasn't been that guy. This allows him to provide support to the chief of police and spend time working with all the officers, regardless of their assignment today or night shift. He routinely modifies his shift on short notice to help cover special events, attend meetings, or cover for officers' leave requests. Patrol officers have learned that they can call or text Sergeant Hook about any issue at any time of the day or night and expect him to answer with a patient and thoughtful response. Typically more patient than me. While his position requires dedicating time to administrative work, he still proactively patrols the community, answers his calls for service, and backs up other units at every opportunity. Sergeant Hook takes his title and position as a responsibility and not a privilege. He would never ask another officer to take on a task that he wasn't willing to do, and most of the time he'll do it and not even tell them about it unless he can't get to it. After his promotion, he immediately dedicated a black notebook to his new responsibilities and tasks, keeping notes and reminders so that he could complete these tasks on his own as needed. In a very short time, he had learned most of the repetitive administrative tasks and took over several, allowing the chief more time to dedicate to other priorities. This willingness to learn and take on new tasks has freed up time for the chief to complete projects such as rebuilding the entire policy manual, which we're close to finishing. Sergeant Hook continues to seek knowledge, for example, taking seminars, webinars to ensure he handles grants and asset seizure correctly, and then supporting other agencies that may need assistance with these tasks. Through largely his own initiative, Sergeant Hook has applied for and received and now coordinates tens of thousands of dollars worth of grants, which have paid for life-saving medical supplies, new and more effective portable radios, and body-worn cameras. I don't have an exact number, but it's in the ballpark of $40,000. So I'll provide a number later in the year. These grants, as well as donations he's collected from our private business partners in the community, have provided resources we otherwise would not be able to afford. All of these items have improved our ability to provide safe and professional service to the Timberville community. As his commitment, efforts, and initiative have dramatically improved the operation of the department, he steadfastly supported the efforts of his teammates, and furthered the mission of the agency, Sergeant Hook is hereby awarded the Timberville Police Department the Chief's Commendation.
She's gonna want your picture.
The second commendation is for Officer C.K. Ray. Officer C.K. Ray started with the Timberville Police Department on July 27, 2020. After growing up in the area, he served in the Army before coming home and joining the Harrisonburg Police Department. After some time at HPD, he applied here, stating he wanted to police in his hometown area where he could make a positive impact on his community. Since his first day, Officer Ray comes to work with a focus and purpose to serve his community. During the first snowstorm that after he was hired, he asked if he could wear winter boots and carry a snow shovel in his cruiser in case he needed to help someone struggling to get their driveway cleared. Officer Ray is a well-rounded officer, but his big impact comes from proactive criminal interdiction. While the old methods of police work revolved around answering dispatch calls and writing speeding tickets, Officer Ray brought a desire and drive to uncover criminal activity, especially illegal narcotics, both use and distribution. He routinely reviews legal case law and interdiction tactics to improve his abilities to detect crime. He shares this knowledge and innovation with other members of the department, and in doing so has helped make students of the other officers, and that would include me. Officer Ray works closely with the Broadway Police Department, as we all do, and uses their resources to target criminal activity in both towns, knowing that criminal activity doesn't stop at municipal boundaries. We're dealing with the same people here and there, and he's helped to cement the way that we work back and forth and work together. It is now an everyday occurrence to hear officers from both agencies discussing the legal boundaries set by the legislature and the courts, as well as successful tactics being seen in other agencies across the country. It is also an everyday occurrence to see the two agencies together on calls for service, traffic stops, and other criminal interdiction activities. Through his successful work and passion, he set an example for all agency members to follow. This very focused and proactive approach to police work has become the standard for all officers, including the veterans that were here before him and those that have been hired since. This is evident by the department's overall increase in the number of traffic stops, summons, warrants, and arrests over the past year and a half, especially for narcotic offenses. In the end, Officer Ray's intense focus and dedication is never about him. It is always about the community and making this a better place to live, work, and visit. As his leadership through both words and deeds and his innovation in patrol tactics have dramatically improved the operation of the department and furthered the mission of the agency, Officer Ray is hereby awarded the Timberville Police Department Chief's Commendation. Chief, appreciate it.
CK, for ones who weren't in our meeting, tell them how many distribution cases cases or arrests you had last year?
How many people cases
People,
last year?
so like drug distribution cases alone, 9, which is,
It's amazing.
they're hard to get, so.
Thank you all.
Nine in just last year.
Amazing.
The last award won't cover today other than to read the certificate because the case is still being adjudicated. But the final award is for Officer Luke Pazuski, and he's being awarded the Medal of Valor for an act of personal courage under conditions beyond the ordinary hazards of service. So while I have my once-a-year microphone, although you'll have to listen to me maybe in the budget meeting, something came up that kind of in the law enforcement community that I wanted to address briefly while I have the microphone, so to speak. It recently came to my attention that during a meeting at a regional law enforcement agency, one of their leaders made a disparaging comment about driving through Timberville. This person stated that while they drove through Timberville, they blinked and almost missed it. Allegedly, further comments included a sense of shock that any police officer would want to come to work in Timberville. So for those that don't get it, I'd like to take this time to explain why our police officers work here and what makes this a great community to serve. While our community is small, it is very complete, including apartments, subdivisions, retail stores, manufacturing, as well as other jobs and resources. During the pandemic, our community economy fared well because we do not rely on variables such as tourism and universities. The Timberville Police Department has a moderate call volume and is often slow in the late hours of the night. But officers with initiative use this unassigned time to proactively seek out unreported crime as well as traffic violations and other offenses. With a small agency of 6 officers, there's a natural transparency to our operation. Every person in the agency is aware of budget requests, equipment procurement, and they give their input, which is actually considered in decision making. The Timberville Police Department doesn't operate like a top-down bureaucracy, it runs like a close-knit team. A comparison I often use is that many large agencies operate like a mega corporation, while our agency and the rest of the town employees operate more like a family business. The Timberville Police Department operates with a proactive policing model and addresses problems and complaints in town with the purpose of solving these problems and improving the quality of life. This may be as simple as a speeding complaint or as complicated as drug distribution. Because we're proactive, we foster a culture of knowledge and training. Officers show up to work seeking to make the town a better place, not hoping to avoid having to answer calls. In this day and age, support is critical to officer satisfaction. In Timberville, the officers are supported by the Chief of Police, supported by the community, and supported by the council. This council has given a pay increase, even if it was a cost of living, I believe every year since I've been here, which is working on 8 years. Pay has been to the level that the town could afford to pay. The council has always done as well for their employees as they could afford to do. The council has also improved the benefits package and include family insurances and done everything they can to improve recruiting and retention. So I deeply appreciate the support of our council in our town. The last point that I'd like to make is that we have excellent employees. They're not complainers, there are no negative personalities. We have positive, hardworking officers. As you can see with commendations tonight, our officers are brave, innovative, and hardworking. And those all seem like good reasons for police officers to come to want to work for our town. Thank you.
Well said, Chief. Well said. I got the easy part, but I just get to brag about you guys all the time, and I've been to a lot of houses lately, gathering signatures, and I've heard nothing but good comments about the police department and the way you're working with. You mentioned CK and Luke, how well we're working with Broadway. People notice it. People notice you guys are a team, and they appreciate that. So I appreciate it. I get to brag on you guys all the time, so I got the easy part. But thank y'all for all you do.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else want to say anything?
They're the best.
There you go. Okay, thanks, Chief. Anything else besides that? Anything else?
No, sir. I think it's.
Anything less exciting?
You know me, I can talk for an hour, but I think that's enough for me.
Okay. AC, it's your turn, sir.
Sure. Front office staff has been extremely busy trying to keep up with their regular duties while also populating the new software we call utility billing and accounting data. Oftentimes, the new software that we purchased, Southern Software, can simply import the data from an existing system, but because of the antiquity of our current system and the formatting, it wasn't possible to do that. So all of the data entry was done manually. Melinda did all of the accounting stuff manually, and Michelle worked on all of the water billing accounts put into that software manually, which is what, 12 to 1,400 accounts, something in that area.
Yes.
Probably actually close to 1,400. Office staff will be going through training on the new software the week of March 28th. Because of the amount of information to learn and the intensity of the training, the office will be closed for most of that week to the public. We will also be utilizing the answering service to handle emergency calls, and we'll put a special message on the main town voicemail for incoming calls during the times of training. So if somebody calls in during the day, obviously we'll have lunch breaks, other breaks throughout the day. We can check our voicemail. If it's something urgent, we can call back at that point.
What was those dates?
It's going to be the week of March 28th, so it's the last week of March. March 28th is a Monday, so it's that week starting then. Security camera installation has begun. We have this building complete, police department building complete, and they're working on some of the other sites. Obviously, we already have internet here in these two buildings, so remote access to these buildings, which is kind of, we don't really need, is already in place. We're trying to figure out internet access for some of the other locations. It's much more expensive than what I had anticipated it to be. But the company that's Valley Automation is doing the installation of the system. They got in contact with another internet service provider and think that it might come in much more reasonable than the couple we've gotten quotes from so far. So even if we can't get internet at those other locations, there are recording devices there. So if we would have some kind of incident, we can always go pull the video. It would just be where, especially for our police officers, they wouldn't be able to log in. If we don't have internet there, they can't log in and check those cameras live from a remote location, which is what we would optimally like to get to. I've been kind of keeping council updated on the boat launch permit paperwork. We received the approval from the Army Corps of Engineer, and now we are waiting. There's some more paperwork to fill out for one of the state agencies. I got an email. They are apparently way far behind on the permitting and have had quite a bit of turnover in their agency staff. So that's why they're just now getting back to us. Potentially, we will have a subdivision/site plan for the Fort Run subdivision at next month's meeting. That's the field across from the old Masons that we did the rezoning, council did the rezoning on at the last council meeting. This would be for the big part of the field. So if they get it in, we will have something to look at Wednesday. I may actually be able to use what they have already provided. I know it's gone to the county, the Rockingham County Department of Community Development for the erosion and sediment control review, and to the county fire marshal for review of fire protection requirements. The developer has already met with VDOT and has the information about where the entrances for each of the lots would go. And we met with them the other day, Chris, Derek, and I, and Don was here for another meeting and set in on that. So, to talk about water and sewer infrastructure, where it's going to be placed and different options that they would have for that. This morning, I met with Zach Beard and Jeremy Crute from the Central Shenandoah Planning District Commission to discuss the comprehensive plan review / update. The CSPDC is going to be handling the transportation section of this process, and their rural transportation program will fund the update, so there will be no cost to the town for them to do that work, which is good. And that's kind of the most tedious part, and there are a lot of new state regulations on what has to be included, and then it has to go to VDOT for review. Our planning commission does a really good job, but I don't have the expertise, I feel, to comfortably do that transportation section. So it's really good that the PDC is being able to help out and cover that for us. And the rest of it is pretty close to complete. We had it done right before the pandemic started, and the planning commission still feels comfortable with the rest of it. So we'll get that. We'll update the statistical numbers, population, things like that. But that's kind of that's not a group thing. That's me just getting the numbers and putting them in there. So we'll have that to come before council sometime this calendar year for consideration and adoption. I met online with representatives of Glow Fiber and their construction contractor for a kickoff meeting for their project. They performed their field evaluation and are in the design process right now, and they anticipate construction to begin in the fall. So moving along pretty good on that project. The Harrisonburg Rockingham Chamber of Commerce has a fairly new president and CEO. His name is Chris Quinn, and he's been doing a great job of reaching out to the communities that the chamber covers. Chris and the Chamber's Manager of Membership Engagement Programs, Carly Floyd, met with the mayor and I back in November and brought us up to date on a lot of what they're doing. They're being much more proactive, reaching out to the communities and to their members. And it's nice. For anybody that doesn't know, there used to be a Broadway Timberville Chamber of Commerce, and it dissolved probably close to 10 years ago. And then they formed the Broadway Timberville Business Council, which is a branch of the Harrisonburg Rockingham Chamber of Commerce. So we fall under the HR Chamber umbrella now, but there's still a smaller group that is focused on this area. At the Chamber's request, we had a joint meeting with them and the town of Broadway to discuss if there's anything the Chamber could do to further support the Shenandoah Rail Trail project. They've also reconnected us with the local business council, which I just told you about. And between the two of us, the city and I have provided representation at all the monthly meetings so far this year. I mean, it's only 3 months, but we have reconnected with them and been involved. And they've had some good seminars so far. So we're going to try to continue to have somebody there for all of those meetings, or both of us, if we can both swing that. And then the final thing I have is, I think it's almost to be here tonight for her to hear this. The mayor and I met with representatives from Pilgrim's Cargill and Rockingham Co-op Farm Bureau within the last several weeks.
About 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, and just had a kind of informal meeting with them to discuss the truck traffic, what they're seeing, and if we asked them if they could have their gate guards direct any truck traffic that comes in the wrong way to go back out the correct way. Yes. One of probably the most interesting thing for me that came out of that meeting was 80% of the truck traffic that goes to those facilities is not under control of any of those entities. Take Pilgrims, for example. 80% of the truck traffic that comes in is coming in from customers somewhere else across the country to pick up product, and those customers are the ones who schedule that. They'll call a shipping company and say, hey, go do a pickup here. So the facilities never even have contact with those shipping companies. It's the customers that they're selling to that are ordering those trucks to come in. So they actually, I don't know if all of them had, I know at least some of them had already, before we met with them, started telling their staff at the gates to go ahead and direct the vehicles back the correct way if they see them coming in the wrong way. And beyond that, I mean, nobody has contact with these shipping companies from the plants or with the town, so the only thing we can do is if, like, police department's been doing a great job of, if you happen to see them going down there, just continue what you've been doing. I think we've gone above and beyond what we had promised to do, and it's kind of at the limits of, there's not really much of anything we can do any further than what we're doing now. I don't know if you agree with that.
I agree. It was a really good meeting. And again, just now, it's obvious when a truck comes the wrong way because you can't get into Pilgrims because you got to do like a 12-point turn to get into it. And when you come from Cargill, there's a gate guard there who sees it, and they've all committed to telling the guy, you came in that way. Next time you're in town, don't come that way and go out this way. So we're down at a point where it's a few trucks and we're just getting but it'll never be 100%. Also, along the thing with the cameras that are being installed down there, if we see a need and it gets bad, we have who's doing what on the roads going past there, so we can always review them and see how big a problem we do have. I think you all have done a great job, and it's.
Which, based on past surveys, is not much, because we have used cameras.
What's that?
Which, based on past surveys, we don't have very many people.
Yeah, the one time I think Jeremy did it for me, it was
It's like 10 trucks in 7 days.
10
or
trucks
something
like 7 days, and that's, when you compare hundreds of trucks probably a day, you get 1 out of 100 going that way, that's not bad. Not bad at all. But, no, and you say yourself, if you're whatever compliant, I don't know what percentage you use on.
85% is what National Highway Traffic Safety says when it comes to speeding. That's the threshold. 85% compliance.
I mean, we'll continue to address, or they will continue to address any issues we have that we can catch. But I think we've done a lot, and we've come a long way. Can't do much more.
That's right.
Okay.
And that's all that I have.
Okay.
Unless council has any questions for me on anything, or if there's any questions on Chris's maintenance report that you all received. If you ever have any questions on that, you can either bring over to council or email back. And
What's the latest on the overcrowding at Granny Smith?
Everything has been brought down. I did the inspection, and I haven't received any more complaints about issues up there. So I think everything's, some of the areas that I looked at, the claims were unfounded. And the one that we really had some issues with has been corrected.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the only other thing I have is myself, Chief, and Chris going to meet to get together tomorrow after lunch and see if we come up with a game plan of what would we say, improvements we can make to the PD and stay within our budget, using our own people. Unfortunately, we're gonna have to be our own GCs to get it anywhere near the amount we have. So we're gonna sit down, we're gonna do some estimates, and we're gonna come up with, here's what we're gonna do first, and we'll let you know what we gotta get done.
We'll have to scale it back and do a lot of the work
We
ourselves.
have 56,000, I think it was, available, and that's what we're gonna use, and we're gonna figure out what we can get done to still meet what the chief and the PD need, and just maybe a little more scaled down, like you said. I think that's all I got too. Any other questions? Then we'll do anything for business and for anybody. Okay? Parks and Rec.
I was just gonna say, everybody can see the progress we're making on the Walgreens.
Oh, yes,
here.
yes.
So the pad's poured, and so since that's done, I can only imagine that the building itself is gonna go pretty quick.
I do kind of have a question about that, just looking at it. It looks like that lot, they've built it up so much higher. I'm assuming that they have a plan for water runoff when it rains.
It's actually really cool. It's the first one I've
It
seen.
looks like it'll run right over into the Moose Lot and then ultimately here.
Right.
But,
And I can't even really explain it, but they have a very intricate drainage system that has been installed underneath of everything. And then they'll have curb and gutter around where the parking areas are.
okay.
So the curb and gutter will kind of go around, essentially go around the perimeter of the property. And I'll show you the plans because it's very cool. We've never had anything like that done. You know, Walmart, they had a ton of water to capture, so they did the detention ponds and then the big pond out back.
It's always an underground retention pond.
Yeah,
It's
it's
big,
very
huge
cool.
pipes underground that it fills up instead of filling up a big hole on top. It is pretty neat.
Oh, okay.
And
You just can't, you know, you can't
Right,
see it from
yeah,
the
it's
top,
under- it's
so it
under all
just
that gravel.
looks like,
mhm.
Yeah, it's
it
under
looks
all
like it
that
would just
gravel.
all drain down, but okay,
Yeah.
good.
And I don't review that stuff, that all goes through the county, because they have the engineers up there that can do with erosion, sediment control, runoff and everything, so, yes.
Good.
It is the first we've ever seen
Mhm.
such a thing.
Yeah.
It's pretty neat. Anything Parks and Rec? We saw Chris's updates. He's messing with he's not messing with it now. He's got all the pavement up on the lower basketball court. And he's moving a lot of gravel around and he'll seed that. So that'll probably be seeded in the next few weeks. And I think that's really all he's got going on Parks and Rec right now, I think. Great.
I think so. I know we didn't have any updates to the park spreadsheet, so.
And finance, he's working on the information we need for our first budget meeting. And what do you think?
Does
of
it,
that?
did everybody get a chance to kind of look at that week is, what we would like to, what we were kind of thinking, I was talking to Linda about it. We were thinking Thursday, the 31st, if that's available for everyone.
Works for me. That's a fifth Thursday, that's great. Yeah, we did usually have it on the first, second, third.
Right. And we like to start fairly early. I know with some people's schedules, you know, are kind of restricted on how soon they can get here, so, I think, I don't know what time we started in the past, 5:30 maybe, but I don't know.
If it's the ones who are working, it depends on how quickly they can get here. How quickly you get here,
I keep my grandson till at least 5:30 in the evenings, so that was my thing.
5:30.
Yeah, I mean, school's over at 3,
Right.
but I have that responsibility till about 5:30.
Natalie, what time?
Sean will actually be there during that time period, so I can telecommute that day and come in at 5.
So, is 5:30 pushing for you? Or,
I may be a few minutes late, but if you
well,
want to get started.
let's do it at 6 then. Does 6 work for everybody that evening?
Yeah, I could definitely do by 6.
So, good?
Yep.
Ned, are you good with that? Okay.
In the first meetings, like we've done in the past, it's gonna be how the year we just went through, how it compares to all the other years,
Yeah.
the report that Bob used to do.
Right.
And then we're gonna have a flat budget then.
Mhm.
And we'll have a budget basically saying, if we don't spend anything additional, here's what we're bringing in, here's what we gotta spend, and we know if we have a surplus to start out, or if we're starting out in a less desirable state, however that is, so.
And depending on how fast, you know, I don't like to draw the recap out too long. It's pretty easy to go through and hit the high points of that and give us an idea of where we're at, show the flat budget. And I'd really like to, because we are already, you know, it's going to be the end of March, we have to advertise in April to have the public hearing in May. So it's going to be the end of April sometime when we have to advertise. So probably kind of get through some of that, the first stuff, the recap and everything, pretty rapidly. Not miss out on anything, but get through it pretty rapidly and try to get into some of the more meat of the discussion too, as far as, I don't think we have a ton of requests this year from the departments, but we could bring those up, and look at anything else that might have changed.
I think as far as the question, most of Chris' stuff is coming out of the ARPA funds. So that's in the budget, but it's not in the budget, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And Chief got police car early, and I think it's mostly talking about salaries and things like that is what we'll be talking about, the big thing.
So, and if anybody has any, council members have anything that they want to bring up during the budget, you know, that they might want to look at having included in the budget, email me that stuff, email your ideas, and I can go into that on the list of things to discuss. Just make sure I don't forget anything, and that we don't skip over anything as we get to discussion.
Okay. Personnel?
We get great personnel reports
Yeah,
tonight.
it's great personnel report, so we can go past that then.
Yeah.
Plain System or Museum, Sharon, you got anything today?
Yes, number of visitors, I don't think this is correct. It says 72, but Sunday before last, we had Cherokee Dare there giving a talk on the black people that was buried at Lindell Creek Cemetery. It was so interesting. I mean, and then she even showed in Broadway where their houses were and what they did. It was great. But anyway, it says number of visitors 72, volunteer hours 93, museum membership 125, and this Sunday is a tea. That is one of our fundraisers, and it's sold out. And then next month will be the dinner dance fundraiser. So get ready to buy your tickets.
Okay. Everybody got anything for us?
Ziegler Cannery provided 133,000 cases of peaches, apple juice and applesauce, and 30,000 cases of tomatoes to the soldiers in World War II. July 7th, 1949, the Newman Building Materials Corporation started. They built the Stone houses and buildings all around there, and good example would be a mini store and drugstore. August 1929, a total of 129 train cars loaded with peaches were shipped from Timberville on the Southern Railway. The switch engine was maintained at Timberville to keep the cars shifted into position for loading. It was the largest peach crop ever. That was 1929, but in 1942, that was a bigger crop than this one. Excuse me, June 1st, 1884, the Reformed Church, the UCC Church now, began construction in 1881. It was dedicated June 1st, 1884, and my dad had recorded in his diaries that he attended the 50th anniversary celebration in 1934.
Oh, okay.
October 4th, 1929, the Timberville Athletic Association presented a play, The Flapper Grandmother, in the high school auditorium. The dimensions of the D.S. Lumber store that was just taken down was 35 feet, 100 feet, and 3 stories, including the basement. Saturday, October 29th, 1932, a Halloween party was held at the schoolhouse tonight. A large crowd attended.
Thanks, sir.
Yeah.
Any other business, Council Pat, at this time? Okay. Any public comment? Sarah, you want to say something there?
I'm good.
You're good? Okay, you missed your opportunity. Okay, then thank you, everybody. Thank you all. Meeting adjourned.